Welcome back to Viewer's Voice. For this episode, I want to talk about isolation, and not that I really have like much of a direction to go with on this video. Probably just like a brief explanation of what isolation means to me and like how I feel about isolation. But also like the first thing I'll probably do before I dive deep into the topic itself is kind of differentiate the alone compared to lonely part of isolation. So I mainly look at isolation as being alone. I don't find isolation to be this lonely void that you're just stuck in, where you just can't feel connected to anything, can't feel the emotions from anything besides just emptiness around you. That's not how isolation speaks to me. I don't picture isolation as like this black room that you're just in with no windows, no light source at all, and it's just you stuck there trying to make out what's around you. When in reality, you know that there isn't anything, or sometimes there are things, but you don't feel them. Because for all you know, in that room, that pitch black room, there might be a bunch of people in there, but you just that's not what it feels like to you. And that's because that's what loneliness is. Loneliness is you feeling as though you're by yourself at all times, and that you don't have anybody on any other level. Despite whether they might be there physically, you don't feel like they're there. That's how loneliness is. Alone is just you being by yourself. Isolation is just me. Whether it's me on like my own path, my own road, me in a field of flowers, me in like just a deserted area, doesn't like whatever it is. That's what isolation is to me. Just me being in my own element with just myself. And there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like isolation is needed on a lot of levels to really reconnect with yourself and realign yourself with the things that matter to you. Because it's very easy to connect to people and be so in tune with somebody else's life that you forget what matters to you and what you need to be focused on. And the reason I say there's nothing wrong with it because like we all like to be there for people. We all like to care about people. We all like to be empathetic for people, sympathetic for people. We like to know that people have us and that we have them. We like to make ourselves feel available to other people, and we would hope that someone feels available to us, so that in our times of need, we know we can count on somebody. But there are often times where it's like we're in a predicament where sometimes we either feel as though it's just us, or sometimes it really is just us, and it's kind of hard for us to be in that position where the only reliable person is you yourself. But you haven't been there for yourself enough to understand what you should be doing and how to treat yourself because you're so used to getting some kind of assistance, some kind of hand to help you and to guide you on your journey. But sometimes that other hand happens to just be yours, and it should just be yours. In most cases, it should just be. Because you can't always count on the next person as much as you'd like to. You don't know if that person might be busy the time you might need them. You don't know if that person might have other people to tend to. So it's like at certain occasions, you have to learn to fall back on yourself. And that's kind of the position I'm in right now. That's why I feel like I want to speak about it because isolation is a lot to me in this current moment, in this current stage of my life, because it's something that I have to kind of now navigate and get more accustomed to. But like I said, I don't see it as something that is more problematic. It's more so, it's just different. That's it. It's just something that's just different. And there's nothing wrong with being different. There's nothing wrong with being in a different position in life. It's just, you now have to get used to that. You now have to either, if you want to change that or just adapt to it. Right now, I'm in a position where I'm not sure if I want to change it or adapt to it. Personally, I would like to adapt because I'm very used to being there for other people. I'm very used to just like trying to do things and like just for other people, Not really motivated for my own purposes, my own needs, my own whatever. It's just I just do it for other people more than I do it for myself. And a lot of times where I would do something for myself, it wouldn't really be for me, or it wouldn't be really all that beneficial to me the way I would be for the next person. Because the only resources I'm leaving to kind of give myself are the ones that are just leftovers. I'm using all the resources that are at all beneficial and helpful. I'm using that on the next person. So now I'm in a position where it's like I'm giving a handout that already doesn't have much to give, but it's still out there nonetheless. And that's not something I want for myself. That's not something I want for the next person either. But it's something that we're just so At least majority of us might fall in. I'm not too sure, but I know for a fact that's something that I tend to fall in, and that's not a position that I need to be nor want to be. So this isolation path that I'm going down, I would prefer that to be something I now can adjust to, and then be able to beer myself with more fruitful things that don't have to be shared all the time. It is a nice way to just put the lens on yourself without feeling too guilty for it, or without feeling too not sure what else I could call it, but it's better to go down the path of isolation rather than be forced in it. Because when you're forced in it, that's where the loneliness starts to feel lonely. Because you didn't want to be here, you didn't ask to be here, but due to certain circumstances and situations, you're now in a position where you have to just fend for yourself, be for yourself, and be by yourself. But if you had the option to choose and choose who you got to stay with, choose who got to stay with you, and be surrounded with you, you would have made that decision. But you had a decision made for you. So when you're put in a position where you have to just be alone, it doesn't feel like you're alone. It just feels like you're locked away more than you get to be away. You know. And that's why I feel like that's not something that isolation should be. It's not something that isolation should. It's not something that isolation make you feel. Because I feel like it's much different than that, and it could be much different. It could be much different than that if you allow it to be. Because don't get me wrong, it definitely feels lonely at times. I think like it would be nice to have this person or to have this or that. But when you realize like you can find that within yourself, the longer you stay with yourself, you no longer feel that alone. Knowing that your company is more than enough. But a lot of people, they aren't satisfied with their own company. They aren't satisfied with what they can benefit from themselves. They aren't satisfied with what they can provide for themselves. And I'm not too sure what the reasons could be, but like I said, for me, I know my personal reason is because I don't allow myself to provide for me as often as I should. Because like I said, I'm too busy trying to provide for the next person. Or trying to believe that me providing for this person will eventually make them want to provide for me, or at least to a reciprocated equal amount. But that tends to not be the case. I end up putting out more than I'm actually gonna get in return. But if I were to just put it all in me, then I'm gonna be gaining regardless of what I do. Regardless of how much I put out, I'm still gonna be getting that in return because I'm not putting it in me. I'm not worried about what this person needs. I'm not worried about what this person could benefit from. I'm not worried about what this person requires and how I have to play a role in that, because I don't have to play a role in that. I can play a role in my own life, my own journey. So I just feel like I said, back to the start, I feel like it's just something that people at one point in life, you should go down that road. But a lot of us, it isn't easy to do that because I'm someone that I feel like I always have to be surrounded by people, in the sense of I just want to give. I'm not even a people's person all that much because I'm not a really an outgoing person, but I still like to be around others so that I can be giving them something. Because the way I look at it, or would look at it oftentimes, is me lifting you up is still lifting me up in a sense. But there have been times where I put someone way higher than I've been and I didn't move an inch. So how much is me lifting them up in actuality doing anything for me? If anything, I'm digging a deeper hole for myself when that very thing I'm giving them is coming from right beneath my feet. So now I'm putting myself in a worse position, trying to put them in a better position, and that's just not the. It depends on where you are in life. Whether you feel like that's what you should be doing, whether that's the right thing. I still deem it to be the right thing. There's nothing wrong with that, like I said. But there comes a point in time where it's like that's not the right thing for you in that moment. Because too much good is still bad depending on the person. Because if all that good is coming from one person, you have to think like how much do they really have to give to where they can provide that much and not lose anything. You don't gain that much from doing that. And I know personally, I really do like to give. So that's kind of like I want to speak about it because like I know as a giver myself, it's like it is not always that easy to do it all the time. And I feel like I've definitely utilized a lot more of my time by giving than receiving. And not that I want to be out there receiving things from the people. I'm just saying that in the sense of like I know a lot of what I gave could have just been invested in myself. So like, why didn't I just invest in myself? It's kind of like the same way you could have tipped somebody $10 when you ordered food or went out to eat, and then later on, like a week later or a couple days later, you think that's like, I could low key use those $10 right now. It's like you know you still did a good thing, and deep down you don't really wish like you could get those $10 back, and that you never used the $10 for what you did in the first place. Like that person still deserved their tip, or whatever you used the $10 for. It's like you're still glad it went to whom it did, but it's like you still know deep down it's like you low-key wish you could have at least used some of it or the whole thing for yourself. But I feel like one of the main key takeaways from isolation is it just allows you to be there for the person that needs you the most, and that's always going to be you at the end of the day. We oftentimes believe that there's someone else out there that needs us more than we need ourselves, but truthfully, we need ourselves. And isolation allows you to do that without having to take anything out into perspective and then block that narrative of me being there for me. So let's go back to the analogy of viewing isolation as this lonely thing where you're stuck in this dark room, no windows, no light source, of course, right? Even with that, even if you were to look at that as a negative thing, the good part about that is, let's say you were trying to work for something in that room, you were trying to build for something. The only unfortunate matter might be that people don't get to see you do what you're doing inside that room. People don't get to see what kind of achievements you could be making. But the best part about it is they don't get to see what failures you're making either. Because we can oftentimes get very self-conscious of the way someone's going to perceive us when we make a mistake, or we have to just do everything as perfect as possible. Otherwise, we're going to get critiqued for it. Otherwise, we're going to get looked at differently for it. So when you're on your own path, you don't have to worry about how someone else is going to look at you for what you're doing. And regardless, is like whether you do it perfect or not, there's always gonna be that person out there that might have to just critique something. It doesn't matter what it is. You could feel like you've done an amazing job. Someone out there might just feel like their word or their perspective is more important than yours, so they feel as though they still have to express their own opinion as to why your work isn't enough, why you should have been doing more, why you should have and could have pushed for more. Meanwhile, they didn't see the work that you did. They didn't see the amount of effort that it took to get you doing what you're already doing now, and to have gotten that piece itself. They're just looking at the end results. But yet we still think we should be around those people and put ourselves in environments to where we want to look out for those people more and do things for those people more, when in reality it isn't going to better us in any means majority of the time. But to end it off, if you feel like you're in a position to where you could benefit more a long time, I would say go for it. It's much more beneficial to just go for it and than to down the road be forced into a position where you have to be by yourself. Because you might look at it differently. Like I said, comparing it to loneliness appears to just being alone. You would prefer to be alone. You want to be alone. Being alone is going to help you do what you should do for yourself a lot sooner, and without the feeling of nobody being there. Yes, nobody is there, but you don't want to feel as though you just don't have anybody, because you still have yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can be who you need to be and whoever you need to be for yourself, and that's the first step you should be taking before you think that you need to give any more of yourself to the next person, because you don't have enough of you yet. You still need more of you. But I appreciate you guys all for listening. I'll see you guys in the next one.